Hi Libra, and welcome to your horoscope for March 2025. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My horoscopes are based on the UK time zone, so please take that into account and please watch them in this order: for your rising sign first, then your sun sign, and finally your moon sign. So I'm going to break March down into 4 weeks, and I'm going to pay particular attention to what the moon is doing, how it moves through your chart, where it supports you, in what areas of your life, and when. So week 1, or the first 9 days of the month really, Saturday the 1st until Sunday the 9th of March. On the 1st, we have the moon in Pisces, and that's in your 6th house of daily routine, the structures of your life, and even your physical health. And that's the tail end of a new moon in Pisces that we had on the 27th of February. I'll make a separate video on that. But for you guys, Libra, it happens in your 6th house. So the 27th, 28th, and the 1st of March here, what you'll notice is as the moon pulls in all this Pisces energy in order to recharge itself for its next 28-day cycle, you receive a lot of intuitive information about which structures in your life actually work for you and which support you, which support your health, and which ones don't. So it may not make sense on paper, as in facts and figures, but on an intuitive level, you'll notice things like, do you know what, this relationship actually doesn't make me feel good, or my diet doesn't make me feel consistently energized and I wake up in the morning and feel groggy. And these kind of insights that you have during this 3-day period, make a note of those because they'll be very important. And if you make changes based on these insights, you'll feel better on an everyday level. Also, on the 1st of March, we have Venus, your ruler, the planet of love and beauty and creativity, that goes retrograde until the 12th of April 2025. And in your case, it's in your 7th house of relationships. So I'm not going to deviate from what I usually say. It's not a good time during a Venus retrograde to start a new business or a new relationship. But in this case particularly, it's not a great time for you to start new relationships. It may be that a relationship promises to be one thing, but then turns out to be very different. So proceed with caution in that area specifically. On the 2nd and 3rd, the moon moves into Aries, and it joins Venus and Chiron in Aries in that 7th house. So instead, what's useful is taking existing relationships and healing those. So it may be a friend that you've fallen out with, or a family member you've lost touch with, or maybe there's even been an estrangement. This is a 2-day period where it's good to kind of heal those situations and to get back on the same page. And then on the 3rd of March, Mercury, the communication planet, also ingresses into Aries, and it moves into your 7th house. So Mercury in Aries is very confident. It's very willing to speak its mind. It's very able to overcome obstacles by using communication. And sometimes when you're trying to get a relationship back on track, it takes a certain amount of courage to pick up the phone or to say, do you know what, I was wrong, but I'd really still like us to be friends. So can we talk this out? So the 2nd and 3rd are really great for you to do that kind of thing. The moon then moves on into Taurus on the 4th and 5th of March, and it moves into your 8th house of institutions and authorities. And what we also have sitting in there is Uranus, the planet of the miraculous and unexpected. So if you focus on those areas of your life, it could be visa applications or tax matters, or submitting your manuscript, or you're in mediation, or there are legal things that are still up in the air. If you address those on the 4th and 5th, you may get an outcome that not only seems to be better than expected, but it may seem to be miraculous. On the 6th and 7th, the moon moves on into Gemini, and it goes into your 9th house of education, travel, and broadening your horizons, the higher realms. And it joins Jupiter, the lucky planet, and the great benefic. It's also in there in Gemini. So the 6th and 7th are great for you to Open yourself up to new information, to study new courses, things that may be work related or not work related, something that you're interested in. You may acquire information that really, really helps you in future and makes you feel incredibly lucky. Then on the 8th and 9th, we've got the moon moving on into Cancer, and it joins your transiting ascendant, Hades, and Mars in Cancer, and they're all in your 10th house of career. And these 2 days are great for you to take care of anything that needs taking care of when it comes to your working life. So if you've got a pile of papers on your desk that you've kind of overlooked, or anything you've procrastinated on, the 8th and 9th are great for you to address those kind of things, to be super productive and to take care of what needs taking care of. On the 8th as well, if you're a stargazer, that's the best day of this month to view Mercury in the night sky. So look for the planet low in the sky in the west just after sunset, and you'll see it. And Mercury is in Aries in that 7th house of relationships. So not only are you able to fix ongoing relationships, but you're also able to kind of look at Mercury and see it as a friend that's encouraging you to speak up for yourself and to step into roles where you're in the spotlight, or you're in leadership positions, or where you're presenting publicly. That also takes a lot of courage and confidence at times. Mercury in Aries will give you that. So this first week, or the first 9 days of March, the moon starts in your 6th house of work and daily routine, and it ends up in your 10th house of work. So both those houses, the 6th and the 10th, have to do with productivity and career. But houses 7, 8, and 9, that's the third quadrant, that's very much about your public life. So the first 9 days here are about you kind of leaving the house and engaging with officialdom and relationships and learning and study, and really making your life seem a lot bigger while also being very productive. So I think the first 9 days you'll be satisfied with your own performance here. Week 2, Monday to Sunday, the 10th through the 16th of March. On the 10th, 11th, and 12th, the moon is in Leo, and that's in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. So it's likely that something will have paid off in the first 9 days of the month that you then get to celebrate on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. So do as much as you can in the first 9 days. And I think when the moon is in Leo, then you'll have cause for celebration. So try and treat yourself to something that you enjoy. So, if there's something at work that you've been laboring away at for years or months or however long, and suddenly it comes to fruition and it's resolved and it's completed and everyone applauds you, then make sure you applaud yourself as well and you treat yourself to something that you enjoy. On the 13th and 14th, the moon moves into Virgo, and it goes into your 12th house of spirituality and spiritual strength, which is really interesting. Because if you look at the traditional astrology chart, that 12th house is ruled by Pisces, a water sign. And in your case, it's ruled by Virgo, which is an earth sign, which you can see as almost a receptacle for something spiritual. And Virgo in itself is ruled by Mercury, the communication planet, and it's very good at taking all the information and breaking it down and coming up with meaning. So during the 13th and 14th here, it may be that you have a dream or an intuitive insight, or you get some sort of message from spirit, and that you're able to make perfect sense of it, and that it provides you with an action plan moving forward. And particularly on the 14th of March, we have a lunar eclipse on the south node. It's a full moon in Virgo, which is interrupted by this eclipse process. And eclipses, we can feel the effects of those for 6 months. So you'll notice this from the 14th of March until August. And what it will do for you, it shows you what structures of your life seem to give you a sense of security and support, but don't in reality. So for instance, the glass of wine after work is a way for me to unwind. But then you wake up in the morning and you feel rough and it's much more difficult to kind of get out of bed. For instance, as an example, right? During this time, the 13th and 14th, but the 14th particularly, you'll get some message from Spirit that says, change this in your life, you'll feel better as a result. And take note of that and implement it for the next 6 months and see how your life changes as a result. You'll be very happy with the outcome. On the 15th and 16th, the moon then moves on and it goes into your sign of Libra and it moves into your first house of self, where it joins Black Moon Lilith. And these 2 days are great for you to overcome your own reluctance. And what happens on the 15th as well is that Mercury, the communication planet, that goes retrograde until the 7th of April 2025. Whenever Mercury is retrograde, expect issues with communication and transportation. So give yourself extra time for delays if you're traveling. If you're sending a ton of emails, make sure they're delivered, that kind of stuff. But in this case, the retrogrades also offer us the opportunity to see things differently. And Mercury retrogrades next to Venus, your ruler, in your 7th house of relationships. And it may give you a different perspective on existing relationships that you've got in your life that, again, seem to support you and seem to be genuine and useful structures in your life. And with the moon being in your sign of Libra on the other side on the 15th and 16th, you may start to see that some of these things really don't benefit you. And you may again find the confidence and the courage to say as much and to let go of certain things that actually don't support you and that don't need healing. What they need is letting go of. So the second week is really a time where you can clean house, and if under normal circumstances that fills you with a sense of self-doubt or fear or it's difficult, you'll be able to let go of those things much more easily. So in week 2, the moon starts on the 10th in your 11th house and it finishes in your first house. So that's the very left-hand side of the chart, and that's you becoming more yourself, being your authentic self, and developing an unwillingness to wear a mask or to adapt yourself for the sake of other people, what they may think, and you refuse to adapt. You become your authentic self, whether other people love it or not, and you're not going to budge from that. So it's a great time to assert yourself and also to get rid of negative influences. Week 3, Monday to Sunday, the 17th to the 23rd of March, moon still in Libra on the 17th, so the same thing applies. Then on the 18th and 19th, the moon moves into Scorpio, and it joins Vesta in Scorpio in your second house of money and belongings and security. And Scorpio is about getting to the root cause of something. So if there's anything in your finances that's gone awry, that's not particularly helpful, you're able to identify it, you're able to create space for something better to come in. And it's opposed by Uranus in your 8th. So when it comes to your investments, your savings, your belongings, your assets, look at those. On the 18th and 19th, you'll find something either that puts those things at risk, or where you're overpaying, or whether there's an insurance that promises to protect something and then in reality doesn't. Look at those on the 18th and 19th. You'll have the presence of mind and the patience to do that, and you'll be able to create more security in your life. Then on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the moon goes into Sagittarius and it goes into your third house of communication. So if you're a writer, if you're a creative Libra, you'll be able to express a lot and you'll be able to get a lot of, first of all, you'll feel the creative impulse, and then you'll be able to produce work that reflects what you were feeling, that you're very satisfied with. On the 20th of March, we've got the sun going into Aries. It does that in your 7th house of relationships as well. So it's interesting that at the very, very beginning of the month, there were certain relationships that you wanted to heal. Now it seems the rest of the month is about you being assertive and saying, actually, this is something I don't want to heal. It's unhealed for a reason, and I want something to disappear here. I'm no longer willing to deal with this. And also, I have my own voice. I've been given a voice for a particular reason, and I now want to use that, whether it's creatively or whether it's in your work as a leader, or if you're self-employed, or if you're a public figure, to actually present yourself as you are, no nerves, no adapting yourself, and simply showing up as the real you and seeing good results because of that. On the 20th of March as well, we have the spring equinox if you're in the northern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the autumn equinox. But either way, it's the time of year where there are nearly equal amounts of daylight and nighttime. And it's being able to see things in this black and white kind of a way. So you'll notice what supports you and what doesn't, and you can make really unemotional choices to say, I'm going to get rid of the things that don't support or help me. On the 23rd, the moon moves into Capricorn and it extends into week 4. It stays in Capricorn on the 24th as well. And that goes into your 4th house of your roots and your relationships. So that's a good time to do work on your house, to tidy the flat or the house you live in, or to do some gardening, or to do any repairs. It's also a good time to lend a helping hand to people who are close to you, family members, people who maybe need a leg up, and you're willing to do that for the people who genuinely support you, and you're willing to kind of give back. And in week 3, the moon starts on the 17th in your 1st house of self, and then it moves all the way through to your 4th house of family. So that's the first quadrant, houses 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th house. So it's getting clear on your perspective and what matters and what serves you. And then by the end of the week, extending yourself to help those people you appreciate and who've kind of not necessarily given you something, so you're giving them something back. It's a transactional kind of thing, but you're willing to show up for people you can love and want to support, and you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do the heavy lifting if they can't do it for themselves. Then week 4, Monday to Monday, the 24th to the 31st of March, moon still in Capricorn on the 24th, then it goes into Aquarius on the 25th and the 26th, and it joins Pluto, the planet of transformation and change, death and rebirth, and also Pallas, which is wisdom in Aquarius, and that's in your 5th house of what you love to do work-wise, but also romance, children, anything that you do love. And we do have Mercury and Venus in retrograde, but Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian and the teacher. And again, I think it may not be so much about starting new romantic relationships. It may be you giving someone a second chance, even if it's not necessarily deserved. So just play that by ear and see if you want to take on that kind of stuff, especially if it's really undeserved. You may be overly kind of forgiving. On the 27th of March, we've got Venus, which is retrograde. It moves back into Pisces, and Mercury does the same on the 29th. In retrograde, it moves back into Pisces, and they go back into your 6th house of daily routine and health. And on the 27th and 28th, the moon joins them in that 6th house. So now we've got Saturn, the moon, the North Node, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. So the moon is your heart. The 6th house really, again, shows you these are the structures in my life that support me, and these ones are the ones that do not. The great thing about the retrogrades is that you're willing to consider things that you usually wouldn't. So maybe if someone has suggested yoga to you over and over, but you're like, ugh, yoga, I don't want to do that. Or maybe someone has suggested that you start watercoloring, and you're like, I'm not a creative genius. Why bother if I can't be perfect at it, right? This is a time where you can really bring in new structures into your life that make you feel spiritually well and physically well and supported in all areas of your life, and to bring in new modalities and new activities that bring more joy into your life. The moon then goes into Aries on the 29th and 30th. And again, they go into your 7th house of relationships. So if you are in a position of leadership, if you run a company, or if you're self-employed, you're not going to struggle showing up in situations where confidence is required. But particularly on the 29th of March, we've got a solar eclipse on the North Node. It's a new moon in Aries. So the moon now pulls in Aries energy to recharge for its next 28-day cycle. And it does that in your 7th house of relationships. So where can you show up in your life in order to kind of influence and lead other people in a positive way? So where is a group of people, where do they exist in your life? They're in a complete mess. They don't know what they're doing. You know what you're doing, and how can you help them out? And whether that benefits you or whether it's just a good deed, it's something that you're, one, able to do, and second of all, sooner or later, it's likely to come back to you in a positive way. So if you do see certain people struggling and not being able to manage on their own, then lending your time and energy, I think, is going to be a good thing. Whether you get something back or not, it certainly will build your confidence and confirm that I am a leader. I do have power. I can influence the lives of others in a positive way. On the 30th as well, Neptune, the planet of dreams and intuition, that's been in Pisces for a long time. And it moves into Aries on the 30th of March. And it's really going to encourage you to realize your hopes and dreams as it relates to your career and as it relates to your relationships. And the whole month has been about, sorting out the good from the bad. And now at the end of the month, you're looking at, I want to have certain things in my life that I want to move towards. And I have the confidence to, in my bones, understand that I can make my dreams a reality. Whether the world says that's possible or not, that may apply to others, doesn't apply to me, and I'm now committed to realizing my own hopes and dreams moving forward. And then on the final day of the month, the moon moves into Taurus on the 31st. It goes back into your 8th house. So again, dealing with the authorities or institutions or formalities, you'll find easy, and you'll find that you'll get an outcome that's better than expected. So in this final week, we start with the moon on the 24th being in your 4th house of family and your roots, and it ends up on the 31st in your 8th. So that's your second quadrant, and then houses 7 and 8. It's the right-hand side of the chart. So how can I take all of this good energy that I've got, and how can I share it with other people who may have less than I do? So you really show up as someone who is a humanitarian, who's charitable. And again, I would bet that in some roundabout way then returns to you in a good way, because what we put out, we get back, right? The dynamic we give off creates our environment, and the more positivity we can give, the more positive stuff comes back. So I hope that gives you an idea of what you'll be working with in March. I hope you have a fabulous month. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via the website, gregoryscott.com. To draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, that's not so serious. I can use sunrise. But what happens in that case is that the ascendant isn't correct and the house placements aren't correct. There is a process called chart rectification where you send me 10 or more significant life events and I can work out your time of birth. That's really helpful because then I have your natal chart in front of me. It's like a blueprint of who you are. It shows me your strengths, your weaknesses, vocational aptitudes, life purpose, relationships, income, all sorts of things, To see what's coming up in future, I look at your progress chart, your transits, and if it's around your birthday, a solar return chart as well. And if there's anything around location or moving, I look at the astrocartography to show me what parts of the world work for you and which ones don't. So if you're interested in any of that, please do get in touch for a personal reading. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please, so it shows up in searches. Subscribe for more videos in future. And if you think anyone would be interested in watching this video, then please share it. That's what helps the channel grow. Have a wonderful March, and I'll speak to you soon.